Isaac Hernandez.
And I'm Holly McClure.
And this is Faith on Film, a program designed to keep you aware and informed on everything that's happening in the world of faith and family entertainment. Holly, how are you today?
Doing great, Isaac. I'm very excited about the show today because we've got actual interviews with people who contributed to movies.
That's true. And actually, these are Hollywood movies now, aren't they?
They are. They are. The first one's going to be an animated film for families called The Bad Guys. When you hear that, parents, you think, well, is that really a good film for family and faith? Sure. But you'd be surprised. Actually, it's a New York Times best-selling book series, and there's actually going to be the 15th one coming out this summer. So a lot of parents may know about The Bad Guys.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, let's start off by looking at the trailer so that maybe people will get an understanding of what we're talking about here, and then we'll come back and get to your interview, all right?
On the outside, the five of you are villains, predators, remorseless sociopaths.
Oh, stop it, you're making me blush.
We're the bad guys. And this is the crew. Mr. Snake, Serpentine, safe-cracking machine. Imagine Houdini, but with no arms. Jackpot! Yes! Miss Tarantula, our in-house tech wizard.
Where'd you learn to do that? Mostly YouTube.
Mr. Piranha, he's brave, crazy. What's up, Papa? And Mr. Shark, master of disguise. His greatest trick, stealing the Mona Lisa disguised as the Mona Lisa. And rounding out the crew is me, the big bad wolf. We may be bad, but we're so good at it.
Arrest them!
We're out of here. So long, suckers!
Don't win nowhere.
Well, this just got a little weird.
No!
Wolf! If only we were given a chance to be anything more than criminals.
If you want to stay out of jail, you need to go good.
What are you doing?
We're gonna pretend to go good. The bad guys become the good guys so we can stay the bad guys. You know what I'm saying?
It's fantastic. Wolf, you're a genius.
Welcome to the first day of the rest of your best life.
Look, it's a cat stuck in a tree.
What does your heart tell you to do? A good person would
smack it.
Skin it. Stab it.
Saute it.
It's so obvious. I want you to save it.
Oh, right.
Here,
The good guy.
We're more than just scary villains. They love us.
You're such a good boy.
Maybe I don't want to be a
bad guy? No, no, no! We'll always be bad guys!
Let's try something simpler. I'm going to give you a push pop.
Just for me!
No, to share.
This is gonna taste extra sweet.
Nope! Sucker! That's it! I teach you to share!
Totally worth it. So the bad guys become the good guys so they can stay the bad guys. Lucy,
That's true.
Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
That is true. And if anyone wants to see my review of the film, you can go on Faith on Film on YouTube and on our, I think, Facebook, and we'll have the review of it. So I have a little bit more details in there as far as for parents and what to look out for. The thing about this movie is, and we're going to be interviewing the director of it, Pierre Perifel, and then also the author. And the author is Aaron Blabey, and which I think is funny. His name is Blabey, and he's an author. Is that funny? But anyway, I didn't want to insult him and say anything. I think that's kind of funny. But anyway, and it's a book series. But what was interesting to me in the story is how he was touched by someone, and he said, "Oh, you're so kind," and something in the wolf made him wag his tail, and he said, "What's that?" And the animals talk about their feelings as people are kind to them. And it transforms and changes their persona to where they want to be kind. And of course, in the end, they are. In the end, they're good guys and they become the good guys. And so it's interesting. It's also an interesting story that you'll be able to ask, say, your kids, okay, when I say the word bad guys, what do you guys think of? when I say the word good guys, what do you think of? So you can get your child's perspective of what they think is bad and what they think is good. And I think it's a great teaching film. And it also is, in the story, is you can't judge a book by its cover, because one character seems to be really good and it's fake. It turns out where he's not. And you see in the end where he's not the good person. He was a conniving person. So anyway, the wolf, you know, is the hero. And I just liked it. I liked the fact, like I said, little ones, it may be over their heads, but I think kids 6 and 7 and up are going to get the story and get the symbolisms.
That's a good conversation to have, actually, because right now it seems that, you know, where we are culturally right now, it seems like good has become bad and bad has become good.
Isaac, isn't that the truth? And where people are letting the bad guys get away with being bad and the good guys are punished for it. So how sad, did we ever think we would be seeing that in our culture today? Did you and I ever think what you see in movies would be played out on the streets and you know, is our culture? So I think it's really important for kids to understand about being good and the difference of being good and bad. And there is a bad, and it's not okay. And there is good, and it's better. And like I said, the story talks about being kind to others and friends, being a good friend. So you know, it's got some subliminal message. They don't beat you over the head, but it's definitely there. And I think that came out in the interview that I had with the two.
Well, tell me a little bit about the interview.
I got a chance to interview thanks to DreamWorks, of course, and Grace Hill Media for arranging this. And I got a chance to interview the director, who basically had more animation background. This is his first time to direct and do this kind of different kind of looking animation. I have to admit, when I first saw it, I'm like, I'm so used to the other, you know, kind of Disney kind of Pixar animation now. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy it, but I got to tell you, it really felt very George Clooney, kind of Ocean's 11, kind of suave. And I liked it. And I thought, okay, was that just me because they send me a screener so that I can look at ahead of time. So I went to another movie last night, another premiere, and at a different theater. It was in there. So I ducked in to watch the very last 5 or 10 minutes of it. And I realized, I like it. It was enjoyable. So you're going to enjoy these two. Aaron, the author, it's an interesting perspective. He was actually an actor at first, and he said he was so horrible at it that he wanted to write the books. So let's play the interview. I think people will be very interested.
The whole point from the beginning for me was to start changing a little bit of the imagery that we tend to see, you know, from all the big studios in Hollywood, which have those amazing imageries of like fantastic CG look, you know, CG environments and stuff. But I think, because it's so amazing and because we've managed to push the technology so far now, it tends to always look a little bit like the same thing, you know. And I think the point for me was just, let's go explore something that's a bit more illustrated, a bit more stylized, you know, and also bouncing off of what Aaron has done in his books, where again he's using a very stylized look that is so efficient in telling the story. And that was the point also, you know. I think to me, like, the storytelling is really guiding an audience, you know, and I think like clean and simple imagery, yet very rich, is what I like to do, you know, and what I like to see, you know. And I think that was like, for me, was a way just to, all right, let's do both at the same time, you know, let's keep 2 birds with 1 stone. Simple, very efficient storytelling and different kind of visuals a little bit, just to shake things up, you know.
Aaron, you went from being an actor to an author, which I thought was interesting, because usually it's the other way around. But you've done what, 14 books, 15 will be coming out in July on The Bad Guys.
That's right. That's right. And just for the record, I was a terrible actor. It wasn't a difficult transition. I was running in the other direction. I was dreadful, like utterly without talent. It wasn't a complicated choice for me in my life. But yes, there's 15 Bad Guys books. There will ultimately be 20 of them. So I've just finished writing 17 and 18 actually. So yes, and it is a book series. It concludes at episode 20. It is a complete story with a long arc.
Yeah. So it leaves room for a sequel, is what we would like to say.
Oh, I see. Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, there's plenty of room for sequels.
You know, I love, Pierre, how you took Aaron's the characters and how you guys, you know, figured out you know, the style and clothing and the stylized of both of them. But what I think is also interesting is, Aaron, how did you react to seeing Sam and Aquafina and others play your little characters? How is it for you to see them come to life?
I got used to it sort of slowly as the process went along, but I have to say when I first saw and again, it was during COVID, so I was in Australia, so it was just on my laptop, but the first time I saw some finished animation with the guys' voices coming out, I burst into tears. I was deeply, deeply moved by what I was seeing. It's beyond my wildest dreams in that sense, because I've been a lifelong movie obsessive, and this cast is full of people whose work I've admired for many years. So to see or hear them voicing with the quality and level of the animation and the dynamism of this movie was tremendously important for me. It was one of the highlights of my life.
Pierre, did you, and Aaron, both of you, what would you say because the kids read the book 6, 7, 8, and they love it. But I felt this was really a movie adults are going to enjoy too. I did. I enjoyed the whole story and how it moved and edgy. You know, is it really good to focus on the fact that bad guys can become good guys and that we can't judge a book by its cover?
Yeah, of course. I think to me, it's like, it's the whole point of it. It's like, it's about redemption. It's about second chances. It's about, like, you know, looking at things from sometimes different angles. If it's looking at circumstances, it's looking at so many things, you know, and not being so judgmental without knowing. You know, I think that's the whole message of this movie, and I think it's a message of hope and a message of growth as well. You know, for everyone, and I'm incredibly proud of, you know, that. Like Aaron was saying, it's the ability to just pass on a message without being too preachy or just too on the nose about it. It's light, slightly subliminal, but it's in there, you know. And I think these animals illustrate exactly what the you know, some of the you know, nowadays circumstances of people living in being excluded, you know. And I think it's about inclusion as well, you know. So, and a word of kindness, a touch that can make a difference. And friendship, exactly.
That was a really neat message you had. I mean, not message, but you know what I mean. You can see it in there. I thought it's good for kids to know and adults too.
Of course, and for everybody, really. I think you're right. I mean, it touches the children as well as, you know, older audience, you know. And it's always nice to have a little bit of a friendly reminder of being kind. And just
absolutely.
The children. I love the ways of the children. I just love listening to them. Although I gotta say, if I'm doing an interview and I'm a producer of a film, I'm going to have more than 2 things on the bookshelf behind me. I kept getting distracted because he only had 2 little weird things on his bookshelf. But anyway, that aside, but I thought it was a good film. Yeah, so, you know, and I think.
So you would recommend it then? You would recommend it?
I would recommend it, but I don't think I think you're going to lose. Well, I don't know anymore. Kids are so advanced, but I think you're going to lose the 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds. Mm-hmm. It really is more for 7, 8, 9-year-olds, probably 6, 7, 8, 9. It depends on how much your kids watch TV these days, or how much they watch animated movies and how familiar they are. But it moves quickly. And again, the snake, Aquafina plays the spider, and she's called Web, and I love it because her fingers are like, and so it's funny to watch her and hear her lines. Right. Sam Rockwell remind me very much of George Clooney. He has funny one-liners, and it was fun. It was good. So there is enough that'll keep kids and adults interested.
Well, that's excellent. Now we're going to make a little bit of a shift here now, and we're going to talk about a movie that is not for kids at all, is it?
Right. It is not for kids at all. Father Stew. And there is a lot of controversy that's been out since the movie was released. It's newly released, but Mark Wahlberg wanted to do this movie for 6 years, and 6 or 7 years, and it was really a passion for him to do it. And he looked at Mel Gibson, who did The Passion of the Christ, and the way that Mel funded his own movie, and that inspired him to to support his own movie, not film it, but support his own movie. Mel raised initially $15 million to do The Passion, which turned into $25 million after it got done, because it was more time than he thought. But Mark Wahlberg looked at that model and thought, you know what, I'll just put my own money into it and I'll do the same. And Mel Gibson's partner, I don't think we call her wife, but partner and mother of his child, Rosalind, she wrote the story, the screenplay, and she directed it. And I have to say, she did a good job. There's a few holes in it, I think, script-wise. It's not like a perfect, to me, flowing story, but it's enough. And there's a lot of content in there. And they had to condense. Father Stu is a real-life story. First of all, it's based on a true story. There really was a Father Stu, and he really was a fighter. In fact, he was a football player in high school, and he was a pro athlete, very handsome young guy. And he went into fighting to think he was going to make a lot of money at it. And he got beat around and knocked around until really it loosened his jaw and caused a medical problem. So then he got the jaw fixed and realized, okay, I'll go to Hollywood. He was just, floundering around. The father, who's played by Mel Gibson, was way out of his life by then. And the mother was struggling to do what she could do. So he goes to Hollywood to become an actor and didn't do very well at that. And of course, sees a girl. He likes the girl. She says, I need to marry someone who's Catholic and go to church. He goes, okay, I can do that. And in the course of going to church, it changed his life. And do we have a trailer we can play?
Actually, what I have is your review. So some of what you said here is part of the review. So let's watch the review, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about. I watched the movie. I got to admit, I did like it a lot. Yes, there's some things, and we'll talk about that after the review that were a little uncomfortable for me, but but overall, I think it was a very inspirational movie. So let's check out your review.
Okay.
This is Holly on Hollywood.
Hi, I'm Holly McClure with a Holly on Hollywood movie review. Let's take a look.
I figured it out.
Yeah, 7th time's a charm.
Father Stu is based on a true story about Stu Long, Mark Wahlberg, an amateur boxer who moves to LA to become an actor. To earn a living, he works at a supermarket where he meets Carmen, a Catholic Sunday school teacher. Determined to win her over, the bad boy agnostic goes to church to impress her and eventually agrees to get baptized. After surviving a near-death motorcycle accident and a heavenly visitation, he decides to become a Catholic priest, much to the skepticism of the church and everyone who knows him. Soon after, he's diagnosed with a terminal illness and uses the time he has left to inspire those closest to him and countless others with a message of love, forgiveness, courage, and compassion. Mel Gibson, Jackie Weaver, Teresa Rue also star. The R rating is for older teens to adults because of foul language, bloody boxing scenes, a motorcycle accident, alcoholism, a verbally abusive atheist father, and mature themes. This is an honest, funny, realistic, and ultimately uplifting drama about a man who overcame dire circumstances to find faith and purpose in life. Wahlberg gives a powerful, emotionally moving, and inspiring performance. Gibson equally shows the father's dramatic transformation towards his son, both physically and spiritually. And Weaver plays the well-meaning mother. This is not your typical faith movie and may not be for everyone. It has lots of language at the beginning and complicated characters, but the story is filled with humor, heartbreak, and a non-typical approach to finding faith in a relationship with God. Whether Father Stu is speaking to prisoners or parishioners, many will find his message uplifting, who would never step foot in a church. Wahlberg's powerful performance, physical transformation, he gained 30 pounds, and unique message of sacrificial faith and understanding God's love definitely earned my respect and tearful applause. Be sure and stay for the real Father Stu interview, photos, and a funny clip at the end.
Muscles weaken until they cease to function.
Is there anything it doesn't mess with?
Yeah, erectile function.
I'm trying to be a priest, pal.
The wise men will bow down before the throne.
I don't know. Why?
And at his feet, they'll cast their golden crown.
Man don't lose when he gets knocked down, but when he won't get up.
Ah, baby.
There is concern amongst the diocese that your infirmity will render you unable to be a priest.
Listen to the words long written down.
What you guys get, one phone call a week in here? Who you gonna call, huh? When no one else gives a what you got to say, God does.
When the man comes around.
He ain't giving up on you. Don't you dare go giving up on yourself.
Hear the trumpets, hear the pipers. 100 million angels sing.
Where are you going?
Well, I gotta get your to church on time.
Who are you here to visit, sir?
Father Stu.
You and everybody else.
When the man comes around.
We shouldn't pray for an easy life, but the strength to endure a difficult one.
Remember to choose your movies wisely.
Well, I got to admit, this is the first time that I've actually even had to edit a trailer, because there was a couple of words in there that I just felt, they weren't bad words, but they were words that I just felt I needed to edit out. So this is definitely not a family movie, and it's probably not even a movie that a lot of churchgoers are going to want to go see. But what do you think?
I don't know. You know, I tell you what, the show is called Faith on Film. Mm-hmm. What you can say about this movie is there is faith on film in this movie. It definitely tells a story of faith. Mm-hmm. Mark Wahlberg plays Father Stu. It's from the Catholic perspective. I think a lot of Catholics are going to really appreciate this movie, because they're going to appreciate the background and what what they had to go through to be a priest, and they can appreciate what he had to go through, which was even harder years ago than who knows, and probably now. And it's probably not like you said, it's not a movie that's necessarily for the choir. Right. It's not your faith-based Hallmark movie or your PureFlix movie, but I definitely think it has a place, like I've said before, for those who would never step inside a church, but they like Mark Wahlberg. They love the action. They like Mel Gibson. They like with those two. Wow, it's Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg. Let's go see this movie. I love it that those two may attract people that would never go to a church or never read a Bible or never do anything. And they're going to see, like Mark, and I think he sets up in this next clip, how important it was to have some of those raw elements in the character to show the transformation and the redemption of the character.
We didn't want the movie to ever be heavy-handed. We wanted a balance of funny, heartwarming, heartfelt, and emotional, and just, sprinkling in that grit and reality that I think a lot of people just identify with more than anything. I don't think anybody's having an easy time in the world right now. And for us, we wanted it just to be brutally honest, and we thought if we were going to make a film that was inspirational and faith-based, we also wanted it to just be truthful and authentic. And so kind of digging a little bit deeper, and hoping that people would just give the movie a chance, despite the fact that there is some language, there is some violence, but it's there for a reason. And to see a person who grew up as difficult as he did to be able to make that transformation and basically be as good a candidate for sainthood as a lot of people out there, I think it's a pretty amazing journey that he went on. And you see the power of God when he picks somebody and he chooses somebody to do his work. Sometimes the most unlikely of candidates. He's a very special individual. And I think it's going to give a lot of people hope, and a lot of people are going to realize that, there isn't anything that I can't do if I'm willing to go out there and do the work, especially when it comes to impacting people in a positive way and, just helping.
I love it.
Yeah. And you know what? You said something to me in one of our conversations that we had about this movie, in fact, and that was that, like, Mel Gibson is really very passionate about sharing the love of Christ, the redemption, power of Christ, but he's doing it and he's speaking to those that are like him.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's what Father Stu is about. Yeah. Father Stu was about speaking to prisoners and speaking to people that could relate with what he'd gone through, because he'd gone through all that, I was going to say HE double toothpicks in life. He'd gone through a hard life, and and had suffered through an verbally abusive father, and so I like that it even showed Mel Gibson, his father, which was a real story. His abusive father even comes around. And as hard and hardened as he is, and as mean as he is to his son, and in the end, I'm telling you, Isaac, I wept. A couple of scenes when he's in the church and he's weeping and going, "Why, God? Why? I mean, I've given up everything for you. Why am I not being healed? Why do I have this infirmity?" And how many of us have done that and weep before God about a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, someone you love, or yourself going through an illness? And why, God? Why'd you do this to me? Or a situation. And then there's a scene where his illness makes him fall down and he can't get up, and the father goes in there, and that's where he breaks and he realizes he can help his son, and he picks him up. I'm telling you, I get tired thinking about it. I was boohooing several parts of this movie because it was so touching. Oh, it was so touching. And it was, if if you're a Christian and you have the Spirit of the Lord in you, when you see redemption on the screen, when you see a redeemed person in whatever form, and you see God touch him, how can you not be teary-eyed? How can you not feel that emotion and that love and the Holy Spirit? So there may be people that say they don't like it, but I don't care, because I did, and I think it's a great story. And even though it's hard to take in some areas, ultimately the man was a true character. And listen to the interview after the movie's over. Did you stay?
Yes, I sure did. Yes.
Oh my gosh, when you hear the real fathers do boo-hoo, boo-hoo again, I was crying. It's like, oh my gosh, the guy was so precious, you know?
I know. And so, I watched the movie, and yes, I don't hang around people that that cuss that much. You notice I said that much because some of them do a little bit, but you know, I thought so. It's a little uncomfortable for me, but I understand first of all why they have to put. I mean, this is what he was like. You know, you're not going to change the way he really was just to fit. You know what somebody would feel comfortable in a movie. You got to be realistic, and I always say, you know what, if you can't handle it, that's fine. Don't go see it. For me, it didn't bother me because it's not like I'm going to hear all these words and suddenly I'm going to start talking that way.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this isn't really a movie for kids. It's not a movie even for young teens. I think mature teens could sure get a lot out of it. Mature teens really should see this movie and could get a lot out of it, if especially they like Mark Wahlberg and know him, and they would get something from it and show a sacrifice that was paid and how going the wrong end was not the right way. You know, Isaac, I'm reminded of the fact that, and I'm not justifying it, but I just want to remind people, you know, when Peter denied Christ, he just didn't want to say, heck no, I don't know who he is. The Bible says he swore. You know, he's denied vehemently that he didn't know Christ. And I've read background on that. And the sons of thunder, why do you think they were called that? They had language. They were rough around the edges. You know what I mean? And they were like, yeah, I know The Chosen has made us a really modernized version, but I'm just saying, you know, it's not like the Bible had to mention curse words. It didn't have to, but not everybody in there was clean speaking and, you know, hey, and, you know, Christianized before they could be in the Bible. So, I mean, the soldiers cursed at Jesus when they, you know, were putting the crown of thorns on him, mocking him. So I'm just saying, in life, that happens. It doesn't mean we walk out speaking that way or acting that way, but you can respect that what a person has gone through in that situation and then what they've come out of and what he stands for in the end, because he really does say, I don't speak that way, I don't talk that way. I admired that.
Well, what I found funny is that right now you spelled H-E double toothpick. Because you just couldn't bring yourself to say the word hell, but yet if you were preaching, you would say hell, wouldn't you?
I would. I just don't want to offend your viewers or you.
which I just did. And folks, if you're offended and you want to write me and let me know that, you can write us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. And of course, you can always follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And Holly, on that note, we'll end this show because we've run out of time.
It was a great show. Enjoyed being with you again. And if you have any questions or you want us to talk about something specific, please write us questions and send to us. We'd love to hear your responses.
All righty, folks. Until next week, take care.